NFL weekend. Yeah, NFL wildcard weekend.
Yeah. Okay. Hit me with it, because
right.
I did so much research because you said,
okay,
I'm going to talk about this, and I went, I better get caught up with Les.
All right, I'll go game by game. You give me a headline from each game,
and
all right?
Remember, at the end of all this, we've got to tell people who they want to cheer for this weekend.
Okay. Carolina, 6.5-point favorite over Arizona. And the game's in Carolina.
And you want to go with the point spreads here. So
I do.
You definitely Carolina is the underdog, correct?
No.
Carolina is
They're giving 6.5 to Arizona because Arizona's playing with a third-string quarterback, Ryan Lindley.
Yeah. Well,
on the road.
The game is in Carolina.
Yeah.
And even though they have a terrible record, below 500. Game's in Carolina. Carolina's defense has been, in the last 4 games, has really emerged.
Yes.
Giving up about 6.5, 7 points a game. I think when you put a good Carolina defense against a third-string quarterback, and Arizona honestly doesn't deserve to win or advance because they didn't go out and get a quarterback, even if it were Rex Grossman. But they could have gone and gotten Kyle Orton when he was floating around. And people know how I feel about him, but there were quarterbacks out there that were a lot better than this kid. I mean, he had not thrown a touchdown pass, I think, in the NFL. You were in position with your defense, so I give Arizona no chance. I think Carolina wins this game by more than a touchdown. Cam Newton has, I think, matured's not the right word, but I think he had sort of a vision after he had the automobile accident. He's come back as a calmer, more under control. I think he thought he was given a second chance, really, that he could have died in that accident. And so I think we're seeing a guy who's kind of turned a corner. And I like Carolina at this point in the season.
Yeah, I like Carolina too, given the 6.5, despite the fact they're not very good against playoff teams this year. They're 1-4-1 against teams that ended up in the playoffs. That ain't good. But they're going against a playoff team playing, again, with a third-string quarterback who's had virtually no success in his career. So I'm with Carolina as well. All right, here's
Both
the game.
of us like Carolina.
Yeah. Pittsburgh is at home giving 3 to Baltimore.
I have really gone back and forth. Do you know the last 9 times they played, the outcomes have been 6 or less, 6 or fewer points? So this game
seems
is
to be a
almost
3-point game.
Yeah, this game is almost impossible for us to pick and say we know this is going to be right. So I would take Baltimore, and I would take the 3 points because I think Baltimore will win the game
outright.
I think Baltimore is going to win the game, and I switched on this after I did. Baltimore is in the last vestiges of its defense. I mean, they've lost Lewis. They've lost so many of them. They're down.
You realize they gave up 6 touchdown passes to Ben Roethlisberger in a game this year.
Sure. Okay. I said they're in the last vestiges of the great Ravens defenses of old.
Right.
They're down to a couple of guys. Yeah. But
pass rush is okay. Secondary is not very good.
Would you say Von Miller was one of the best sack guys in the league this year?
Yes.
One of them.
Yes.
I'm not saying the best. Well, Elvis Dungerroll is with Baltimore. He had more. Von Miller had 15.
Yeah.
Elvis, if I remember,
17.
had 17.
Yeah.
So Elvis has really brought them a dimension based on a screw-up here with a fax machine and an agent who was stupid. He ended up in Baltimore, so he has at least recovered some of the losses they've had defensively. Where is Pittsburgh's biggest problem?
Well, if Le'Veon Bell doesn't play,
yeah. Well, that's
they're an old defense that isn't very good.
The backside is where they.
Le'Veon Bell is definitely out.
Yeah, and he has been a major part of that offense in terms of helping.
That means it's going to be on Big Ben now.
Right, and their secondary, the backside of their secondary is really a problem. Flacco actually, his strength as a passer is going deep.
Yeah,
we saw it here in Denver. I think Baltimore wins this straight up, and there's a reason why, and I want you to remember that because I'm going to come back to Baltimore in a little while.
I'm taking Pittsburgh. I'm going to give the 3 points, despite the fact they don't have Bell. I think Big Ben is going to have another big game against Baltimore. He's going to be throwing it all day. All right, Cincinnati is
the bell tolls for Pittsburgh.
For whom?
That's what.
Indianapolis is at home, giving 3 points to the Cincinnati Bengals. I think we're going to be on the same page here.
I'm going to take Indianapolis.
Yeah, me too.
I just
Andy Dalton playoffs.
Yeah, they have Cincinnati is just, even though they beat the Broncos, and Hill has come up big for them lately. He's had 4 games where he's averaged 6.5 yards a carry.
Yeah. And Indy doesn't do a good job stopping the run either.
I just think indoors, no weather factor like we had in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago.
Andy Dalton,
Yeah.
Andrew Luck, Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I just Andy Dalton doesn't do anything for me, so I take Indianapolis.
All right, last one. Dallas is at home, given 6.5 to the Detroit Lions.
Well, Detroit has got the best defensive team against the rush. Who's number 2? The Broncos, I think, the last time I checked.
True.
They are really good against the rush. They are bad at giving up yards after the catch.
Yes.
They've given up like 2,000 yards after the catch to teams they played this year. Here's the statistic you're going to love. All of you, pay attention. Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions on the road against teams that are above 500 are 0-17. They don't win on the road against a good team.
Matthew Stafford has never beaten a winning team on the road.
And this year,
in his career.
This year, I think they only beat one team that was above 500 this year on the road.
Yeah. So you're telling me you're going for Dallas?
And I don't even think that was on the road. They have beaten up on teams that are really bad. And people say, well, what about the Broncos? I looked. The Broncos have beaten 8 teams that are 500 or better. So the Broncos actually have had a pretty good year.
They're battle tested. Yeah. So you're telling me you like Dallas?
Yeah, I like Dallas. Okay. Oh, I like Dallas. I like Des Bryant. I like Murray, even though they got a great. He's going to get 100 yards.
Probably.
And Romo is a legitimate MVP candidate.
Yeah.
They're playing at home. They're going to forget all the old stuff that's happened. They're going to win this game.
All right. So we both like Carolina. We both like Indy. We both like Dallas. But you like Baltimore and I like Pittsburgh.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Here's why I like Baltimore.
Yeah.
You're like this. If Baltimore wins, because of their seed position, they go to New England, and Indianapolis would come here. Well, the Broncos are going to beat Indianapolis. They're a different team when they're on the road. Okay? You with me? Baltimore, and you really don't want to play Pittsburgh, even though Bell's out. He might be ready to go in a couple of weeks from now. But Baltimore has gone to New England and beaten them.
Yeah.
They've beaten them. I think they are battle-tested, to use your word, in terms of playing in New England. I think the Broncos, psyche, New England. I think that happens with a lot of teams. I don't think it affects Baltimore because they know we could go there and beat them.
Right.
We have done it before.
In their Super Bowl run, they did it
So
a couple of years ago.
the reason why I'm picking Baltimore in the game, I think they'll win, but I'm picking Baltimore in the game and telling everybody who's out there in Broncos country or Broncos nation or wherever you might be that Baltimore is the team you want, not because you want to face Baltimore, because you want. You don't have to face Pittsburgh. It's a double winner, double whammy. You don't have to face Pittsburgh, and you get Baltimore going in, and you might give them a chance to win.
You realize what you're asking Broncos fans to do. This can't be very easy for Broncos fans after the last couple of years.
What do you want
to root for the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, but do you want them to root for Pittsburgh? No. We got enough people here from Pittsburgh that will root for Pittsburgh. Do you want them to root for Indianapolis? No, because that's where they dumped Peyton and the whole thing, and they've beaten the Broncos and kicked them in the playoffs there under Mike Shanahan. I mean, who do you really want to pull for? Well, you got to have somebody to pull for. So pull for Baltimore.
It makes sense.